We good? Great. All right, this is a meeting of the Sleepy Hollow Local Development Corp. The date is January 7th. We've got everyone here except for one of the board members. Warren's out. Let's get started. We'll first do the minutes. January 13th. Anybody have changes, edits, questions? Not going to get a motion. Minutes.
So motion to approve minutes?
Second that. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Minutes are done. Expenditure for this period. 96, 625, 97. Bulk of that is for our grant writing. Environmental. During the site. Any other questions?
No. Motion to approve the expenditures.
No. All in favor, say aye.
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 The no resolutions today. Next, we'll get an update from you, Dan.
Okay. We'll start as always with what's going on the east parcel. As far as the phase 2 construction progress, the precast wall, the 7th row was completed last week. That's 353 of 424 total units, or about 83%.
7th row of how many? Is that the
Of 9 total rows.
9? Okay.
So 71 units remain. About half of those are full of 4-foot tall units. The other half are 2 feet tall. And then there's 9 concrete barrier cap pieces that go at the northernmost end. So there's only another week or two of the contractor setting units and backfilling, to completion, at least of the precast wall. 193 Beekman at the southernmost end of the site. The structure demo is pending confirmation from Con Ed on service removals. They were out there this morning removing the electric service emitters. And in the 2 weeks prior, they had removed the gas meter and supposedly cut and capped the gas. So we're just need confirmation from them that their work is complete so that the structural demolition can commence. And within that time frame, the contractor's been doing interior work to separate out materials, wood, concrete, metal, things to that effect. But the structural demolition, as soon as we get word back from Con Ed, we'll be able to commence within a day or two of that, I would imagine.
I'm sorry, did we get a hold of Justin?
Yeah.
He's on.
And did you tell him?
Yeah, I told him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In minutes?
Over the next couple of weeks, we should be seeing the controlled demolition of 193 Beekman take place, the completion of the precast wall, as well as utilities and other road work being progressed site-wide. Aside from that, we still have to negotiate or come to some kind of an agreement as to a completion date, as the original substantial completion date has passed. Jumping forward to future work on the east parcel, a bit of work just further vetting the available space within the southwest quadrant of the east parcel. That's everything from between the roadway, the railroad tracks, the future bridge, and where the Clinton Street extension kind of tapers down towards the railroad tracks. Effectively, per the existing design, we have about 515 feet between north and south, with which to fit multi-purpose field, tennis courts, anything else that's conceived for that active recreation space. We have some amount of flexibility, about 45 feet in total, to play with the alignment of the future Continental Street Bridge. That's basically taking it from its skewed alignment that skews, southeast into the east parcel to
It currently skews southeast.
currently, yeah.
Oh,
And that's the ideal preferred geometry, just in terms of roadway curves and super elevations, actual bridge geometry. By shifting the bridge to the north, so making it more perpendicular to the tracks, you can gain an additional 45 feet, which gives you about 560 feet to build within that southwest quadrant.
I think the issue there, when we looked at it a long time ago, was that otherwise the cars would have to do a very quick 90-degree turn.
Right, so
So
yep,
that's being considered.
that's being considered. So that's the absolute really sharpest that you could
Yeah.
go. You have effectively a 90-degree turn on the one, which is,
Yeah.
you kind of compare it to the H Bridge in
Yeah.
Tarrytown, on one side. But the greater issue, given the space constraints between what Edge on Hudson is building, the railroad tracks,
Yeah.
and less of an issue on our side of the tracks. But the western approach is limited to building within, between the traffic circle at the northernmost end of their project and where we can cross the tracks. And the tighter you make that curve, now it makes the bridge geometry slightly more complicated by introducing curved elements on the bridge versus it being straight as a tangent.
Which equals money.
Which does translate to potential additional costs to build the bridge. So it's you have to weigh that additional room gained on the east parcel versus, the potential bridge cost. Now, just looking at 515 being the minimum and 560 being the maximum, there's really only two proposed layouts that work in terms of the multi-purpose field and court, configurations. And that is keeping the existing proposal where that shows 2 full-size courts, whether it's 2 tennis, 6 pickleball, or some combination, with a full multi-purpose field that would be accommodating of high school soccer, football, lacrosse. That's 120 yards long, plus buffer space, clear spaces around the field. Takes up about 530 feet from end to end. So we can adjust the bridge alignment slightly and accommodate all of that. By introducing a third racket sport court to have either 2 tennis and 3 pickle or some combination, that's an additional 60 feet. So a multi-purpose field that accommodates football and lacrosse no longer works in that scenario. Only a minimum dimension high school soccer field that would be 100 yards long would fit. So that's really something for the board to consider in terms of future development on the east parcel that can accommodate both the bridge and a multi-purpose field that, whatever they're thinking is going to be that future project, whether or not to move forward with an additional court or as is, and accommodate additional, whether it's pickleball or tennis courts elsewhere, on the east parcel or within the village.
So Dan, how did you come to that determination that there was room, no room? Was this a survey?
Well, the designer played with the alignments to see. how-
WSP?
Correct.
Okay.
Right, so they looked at, given turning radii and.
So did they work on that bridge?
Initially.
They-
had
yes.
it.
Initially, yes, okay.
Yeah.
So they have data.
Mhm.
So are we going to the board then to have them decide, because the pickleball and the skateboard needs to be
Right,
fully decided, at least the design?
correct. So the board needs to make a final determination on whether or not they want to continue as is with the 2 court spaces, or increase that in size.
So this isn't the LDC's decision.
This is not our decision. It's a village board decision.
I'm sorry, can you speak up?
Yes. Bill, you had asked us to Set plan of the village board, actually, approve the special permit. It's a huge shed analysis. Well, it's for every side, and so I'm wondering if how you're gonna update that. Analysis, considering. It's going to be an updated new shed analysis. New bridge, I don't know if this is an or trustees question. Just closing it. Just to go ahead and have, analysis. Asking a question.
That is a good question.
Well, once they make a decision, it's what they want to do, then we'll
Cross that bridge.
So
we'll deal with those.
Analysis as needed.
Yeah, no, but thanks for the reminder that will eventually come up. Of course, we have no plan for the bridge either.
It's a long way off.
Yeah.
Thanks.
And then jumping forward, a couple other items. The phase one environmental assessments for 6468 Beekman and 38 River Street were completed. There's no further actions recommended for 6468 Beekman, though there is additional investigation warranted for 38 River Street. Several conditions that are noted in the report that warrant further investigation. Things like dates of construction, underground storage tanks, historical usage, and environmental records.
This is on 193.
This is the current DPW facilities. This was something that was asked of the village board maybe a month or so ago to look into an environmental review of that site to, in considering future, marketing or redevelopment.
How much fill is in?
Say that again?
How much fill is on that site?
Is on the
How much
current,
fill is it all over the DPW site?
not the proposed site, the existing.
The existing,
River
oh,
Street.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Got it.
which was filled in,
Oh, yeah.
way back when, but that's. So in any case, the proposal is about $60,000. That would include an asbestos survey and a subsurface investigation. As well as identifying, as that work is progressed, or if that work is just decided to be progressed, if there are any spills or anything of concern identified, HRP would assist in reporting and coming up with a remediation plan. So that again is something that for village board to consider if they want to have the LDC move forward with that work, whether now or in the
You
future.
you don't have anything to do with that.
No.
Is that comparable to the survey that we've done?
Well, to compare it more recently to, not the subsurface investigation, but at least the asbestos survey. It is very comparable to what we did for 192 Beekman. I think that if you just carve out that from the proposal, I think here, it was about $7,000 or $8,000. The asbestos survey, when the proposal for 193 Beekman was about 5,000.
So how many structures are on the current DPW site? I don't know what it looks like.
It's really 3, if you count the admin building. There's a residential structure, the larger maintenance and storage, the large brick building, and then there are the old it was like just the big tanks that are currently used as a salt shed would be the 3 main structures. Everything else with that property is largely undeveloped or developed as surface parking.
So there's a kind of a serious water issue there, water that perks up from the ground, I suspect. Is anybody aware of that? It's right in front of where the DPW building is, the garages, and it comes across the street right into the entrance of where the park is. Is that something that's being looked at or will be looked at later? I don't think. It's probably not an issue now.
That would be,
DPW is aware of it. Believe it or not, I think it's the Hudson River.
Yeah, could be.
Yeah.
Okay,
We
I
have,
was just
in the
curious.
basement, we actually have tidal.
Goes that way.
I'm
so
not sure of that particular issue, but they're aware of it.
And one last item, would be, with, Pace Law and Jenny Nolan, our grant writer. So this previous invoice, or the invoice that was on our expenditures tonight, effectively completed her scope, from the last year. So, we'll have to, you know, initiate some talks with her to define a new scope for her work. And likely, probably bring her in to just give us a little presentation and, much as we've done, in the past, that somewhat aligns with, the LDC's establishing our own operating budget for the coming fiscal year.
So what's her connection pace? How does that work? We contract through them or we
She
contract?
works her pace.
She
Yeah.
works for Pace. So we contract Pace.
Correct.
Okay.
She's on her own now.
We applied for pro housing,
We did.
get the answer yet?
No. Did you get a letter from Pro Housing?
No, but they're making an announcement, state that pro housing.
Okay.
Which one, Anthony?
That was for the, I don't know specifically what we put under that, but it was the part of the multipurpose fields and that. is what we
Which
applied.
one are they announcing?
Pro housing grant application.
So, I mean, they sent a notification saying, hey, we're gonna announce this tomorrow.
They just said we're doing a press conference here in private. But that doesn't mean much.
No.
That doesn't mean much.
Okay.
Sometimes it's in Schenectady if you want to
You
go.
think- It's not like you didn't get it, but tune in anyway.
Yeah,
So, all right.
My guess is they're gonna announce what awards they.
Maybe some good news
Because
on,
we haven't heard anything, that's a good news. 'Cause
right.
the Village is pro housing.
Oh, so then, yeah, that might be some really good news, for us, depending on what is announced tomorrow. So stay tuned.
How do we typically prepare sheet? She comes in. gives a presentation,
Yeah, I can get a scope from her and share it with the board and then go from there.
Yeah, she knows, she applies everything we're working on to all the available grants. She discusses which ones,
But only each parcel really.
well, she does
Oh,
things.
East
for
parcel,
Gorilla.
Restore New
And
York.
others, yeah.
Yeah, we
And-
coordinate across the, and us determine who's best to apply for which grant, but, of course, they have to match up with projects. And
I mean, I also,
historically, we've had a lot of projects. But not as many right now to pick apply grants to.
just to also point out that the Restore New York grant was the LDC and Jenny's work, even though most of those projects didn't apply at the time directly to, the LDC projects, but that was something that went through Jenny. All right. Next meetings would be February 10th and 24th,
10th and the 24th,
10th and 24th.
okay?
So that's 2 weeks and 2 weeks, 2 weeks and 4 weeks.
Any old business or new business? Want to discuss, otherwise I'm gonna go into an exec session. That's contract negotiations. Can I get a motion to do so?
I motion well, we don't have a meeting, I'm motion to go into exec.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye.